You are listening to DC On Screen.
All right, welcome into DC On Screen. I am David C. Robertson. This is my co-host, Jason Goss.
Hello.
How you doing, man?
All right.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah, we totally expected to do a Batman Forever review.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was some kind of, there was the 5-minute thing, because okay. What had happened was... All right, so, and it's sad. It sucks. It's, look. At first, they were doing Cinemacon, and they had released they'd put out a 5-minute Superman footage thing at Cinemacon, and they were like, you're not going to be able to see it, and then it came out, and they're like, oh, well, wait, it's going to be on the Minecraft movie. You're going to have to go to the theater to see Minecraft, and the Superman footage will be there, and then they released it online anyway, so... Yeah. We'll talk about that in a minute, but like on April 1st, while all this was going on, Val Kilmer died. And I was thinking like, okay, we'll do a Batman Forever, because we haven't sat down and watched Batman Forever and reviewed it for our show.
Right.
In 10 years. It's ridiculous. We haven't gotten to Batman Forever. But yeah. And it's one of those where it's like, April 1st? Are you kidding me? Like, I was hoping it was a prank.
Yeah, no.
But, yeah, Val Kilmer passed away. He was 65, died from pneumonia. He struggled for years with throat cancer. He was a great actor, known for so many movies, like Top Gun and Heat and Tombstone and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. And by the way, have you seen Kiss Kiss Bang Bang?
A long time ago, but yes, and it was great.
Oh, God. The Saint, The Doors, Willow, and of course, Batman Forever.
Mm-hmm.
So... Did you actually sit down and rewatch Batman Forever yet?
No, I was going to that weekend, and the plans crumbled, so I never snuck in.
Right. Yeah, we did actively plan on doing a review, and we're like, look, we'll just wait on the news, because it's still coming in, and it never stopped. That's the thing, is like, I'm going to have to apologize to you guys. We've never been like all-inclusive on every piece of news, but this is ridiculous. This is like... Every outlet has their whole like long ass exclusive interview with James Gunn, David Corenswet, Rachel Brosnahan, and Nicholas Hoult, and they're all saying great things to me. Like to me, they're all like, it sounds like they've got the characters down. That's like they understand what I've always loved about the characters to begin with, and I won't even say like all the shit that I've loved from the characters from the comics, because for a long time I felt like the comics didn't get it as much as the Burnett. Dini, Tim animated Superman show did. But you know, I came up also in that triangle era of Superman comics where it was just like fucking event after event after event. Death of Superman, Reign of the Superman, Return of Superman, like Electric Superman Red, fucking
52 right before and after that.
Yeah. So like, well, specifically the triangle era was just like the crises mid to late 90s.
Well, actually, yeah, that's a good point. So the triangle, I think I'm new to that term, but the triangle's after the crises.
Yes,
but before the 52s.
Right, it's
that period.
Right, but it ends before, even well before the 52s. It's just like this big era, and it did across like the triangle era specifically refers to an era of Superman comic. Where you could like kind of track the story by the triangle on the cover that has the number. But, you know, DC was doing that across the board with, you know, Death of Superman and how they treated Hal Jordan and the addition of Kyle Rayner, the relaunch of Green Lantern, Batman's back is broken. Now they've got it. It was just like everything was a fucking event.
Yeah. A lot of big swings being taken.
Changed the face of comics forever.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that really was the era though, where it was like, you remember seeing the now fuzzy newsreels with shoulder pads about they're going to kill Superman, and these newscasters who've clearly not really thought about this character like since Reeve left the screen.
Yeah.
And they made a big deal out of it. It was like I think it was just like a thing where all the news media decided it'd be fun to cover this. It almost seemed like a culture moment.
Yeah. And weirdly at the time, for me, I mean, as much as I loved Lois and Clark, and they did, you know, play a little bit with what they were doing in the Triangle era, but as much as I loved that, to me, like, what really brought me back to what Superman was Superman the Animated Series.
Yeah.
And that's why I give preferential treatment and speak more highly of it than other things. But
it was a huge character reset for a generation.
It was like, hey, while we're going through all of this weird shit over here in the comics, let's remind you of what Superman is. And it's feeling like a lot of what we're talking about in this movie.
I mean, there is an inevitability to the reboot cycle in that sense. Like, all right, so you just left the triangle era, but I didn't know that term. I guess, or I hadn't heard it in a long time. The only triangle from the early '90s I think of is the Chicago Bulls. Even I think of that one. But
and have no idea what you're talking about there.
There's Jordan, Pippen, and whoever the third one was.
The closest I've gotten to knowing anything about the Bulls, I think, was someone pointed out online that if you flip their logo upside down, it looks like a robot fucking a crab.
That's probably true. The triangle was some like Phil Jordan renovation about how they operate it. It was either an offensive or defensive strategy. I don't fucking remember. I don't know basketball, but it's this huge fucking thing where like even I know the term because you just run across it, and even other sports reference it where they're like, oh yeah, this time where it was a time where something was mastered though is what it's thought of as. And see, I don't really know that era, but people have to come to these things. So like if you're growing up in that era, you've seen Superman deconstructed and Batman's back broken, right?
Yeah.
Like, but you go through all that. You want to see him back in his base form, and then you watch him go through all these variations. But now you're like 35, 40 years old. A new generation comes in and needs to see a reset version. So yeah, our generation came in and saw Tim Daly and or heard rather,
right?
And Conroy and all them went, oh okay. So this is the baseline, and then like now we're older and want to fuck with them. But every generation has to have somebody like BTAS or STAS, right? Or at least you have to find it by going backwards a little bit.
They don't have to. Yeah, they don't have to, but it is nice to have.
I do wonder. That's almost a theory I would want to put out there and see how it goes. Is do you kind of have to have a baseline to be able to enjoy the fucked up, deconstructed versions? I mean, postmodernism, it says post right there in the name. It posts something. And then the modern means that there was a retro. So it's all contingent.
Yeah, I guess so. It's just...
I wonder if Gen Z cares though. They might just be able to go straight into deconstructing versions. I don't know.
I mean, I think we're just looking at like this. This is one of the reasons there are so many splinters, of fans. People are like, "Oh, Man of Steel is the only one." Like, well, fuck you very much. But I get it. I get the reaction, the knee jerk reaction to be like, "No, the one I grew up with is the thing." Yeah. But even as a kid, like I didn't have that. Quite that. Like I certainly have at times had certain preferences, obviously, and biases and whatnot. But I even then I knew like, oh yeah, well it started off like this though, or before this it was this, and that's part of the power of storytelling and the importance of storytelling and taking our mythologies and our archetypes and shifting them and changing them into new things so that they remain relevant and they still remain as part of something that matters to the audience on a fundamental level. Yeah,
it has to have like a source material that gets reflected, and then there's a group of people that like the reflection with you, and then that dies down.
Yeah,
but something about Superman that's stayed for 80. What are we at 85 now and plus?
Yeah, I think so. I guess so. I don't know.
But that's why archetype characters like these are so big, is you make these cute archetypes like the big ones, and they stick for a reason, because you just can reset those characters over and over again and do them in your own image and do them for a different generation.
87.
87? Yeah. I was trying to remember the last like numbered edition of something that came every 5 years. They come up with a anniversary edition or something. I think the last one I fell for was the 80. I'd have to look at the shelf though.
Yeah, it's my secret is I'm always angry. Like I don't even pay attention to what number it is. It's just like, I don't know. Yeah, sure. I like this. Yeah. All right. I like this. Like, oh yeah, did you get it because it's anniversary issue? I'm like, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know. It said anniversary. I don't know. I just fucking.
You're gonna be like me every time I get a Beatles remix. Like, oh, cool. Even more. That's excellent.
Yeah.
We did this way now. No qualms from me. Send it my way. What did you find?
Yeah. Everybody that listens to the show.
I do eventually get one where somebody does something. You're like, oh, you should exit this conversation.
Yeah, yeah. I think the next big anniversary I'll care about for Superman is probably going to be 100. But
90's not too sexy.
If I'm around, but I don't know. I think
15 years is I'm sure we're well within boundaries of being probable, but yeah,
maybe, I don't know. But everybody that listens to this show knows that I'm a big Star Trek fan. 25 was a big year because it just came about. The 25th anniversary was a big year for me. It was Kirk, it was Picard, and that was about it.
Mm-hmm.
And there were all these specials about, oh my God, because Next Generation was the highest rated thing ever. And there were all these specials and books and posters and action figures, all sorts of crap that you could get for the 25th anniversary. By the time 30th came around, DS9 and Voyager were things. And I happily bought the magazines and all the things I could find.
Mm-hmm.
By the 50th anniversary, I was like, Paramount doesn't care. Why the fuck should I? And if you remember the 50th anniversary, that's when they, put out Star Trek Beyond, and to grab the Futurama phrase that you like so much, that movie just escaped. It really didn't get released.
Yeah.
And they didn't really care, and you're just like, well, shit, that's sad.
You know what? I've never thought about it before, but and I do think about that phrase a lot because it taught me a lot about how actual television production works. I thought it was a lot more deliberate and straightforward until I heard the Futurama writers doing some inside baseball like that.
Yeah.
And realized, oh, no, they're fighting tooth and nail just to get these things done against sometimes just incompetence, just people who shouldn't be in the position they're in, like just lifing at them.
Yeah.
And I have never thought about it until this moment, but like it did escape, and things don't always escape. We do have Batgirls. Like,
right.
Things don't make it out the back door all the time.
Yeah. That one's sad in a way, but I think it's for the best. Anyway, we should probably talk about the Cinemacon footage that they released.
We actually should get back to the show, but I thought about it a few seconds ago, and I'm actually proud of us for once. That was a tangent that stayed relatively within the scope of what we intend to do on the show.
Mm-hmm. Somewhat, yeah.
Mostly, and more than normal. More than normal, and I was proud. That's all.
Okay.
Well, it'll be a long time before it happens again. I was just trying to.
Well, I'm not going to cut it, so. I mean.
Too lazy to do any of that anyway.
Like, Mm-hmm. All right, so like I said, at first it was going to be a Cinemacon thing, and then it was like, oh, it's on the Minecraft movie, and then they just released it online.
Right.
Fine by me. I wanted to see it anyway.
Without the Minecraft movie?
Oh, God, I'm not going to watch that. I was like, well, I'll miss that.
Yeah.
I'm going to go see Minecraft. Fuck.
I might watch it when it gets to the house just to see what kind of chaos has been wrought here.
Yeah, you are exactly the audience who would watch it because Jack Black is in it.
Oh, not even. I mean, I have no like profound love for the guy. I think he's a lovely man, but I would watch it just because. Now I would. I'm curious because I have seen a lot of people do hot takes on it now, of course.
Yeah,
and a lot of it's like this is incredible to watch because they basically filmed. And they put together a movie that they can call a movie, but they used it using fragments of ideas through this game. And some people are making this a hot take about how, people are just projecting these phrases they see, like these little niche video game phrases that are community things, suddenly on the big screen and blah, blah, blah. There's a whole cottage industry trail almost of people just saying this is a whole generational moment, seeing what the Minecraft movie has made and blah, blah, blah. And I'm kind of curious because I want to see is this really different or is this just a lot of inside jokes shoved into a movie that you didn't understand? And we do this all the fucking time and y'all are being weird.
Mm-hmm.
My gut says it's the second one.
Okay.
Because it usually is. It's like the Occam's razor thing. Whatever you're thinking that's weird is probably not it if a more normal explanation does it.
Yeah, I mean, y'all can miss me on all that. Like, I don't care about Minecraft. I don't care about Jack Black. I'm sorry. I have not cared about that man since High Fidelity. I loved him in High Fidelity, and that was the end of that.
I don't know that I ever had any love for him or not. He just comes and goes from my life, like so many people.
Yeah.
If anything, I did have a small affinity for him in my 20s when I went through a Mr. Show phase.
Oh, okay.
And was like,
I'll tell you the truth though.
Yeah. Back when he was like just deeply in the creative thing, and
he was the voice of reason. He was Matthew Broderick's best friend. Wasn't doing his Jack Black bullshit shtick. He was Matthew Broderick's best friend in The Cable Guy.
Yeah. And
he was the voice of reason, the one that was like, dude, Steven, I'm telling you, this guy is fucked up. He's not all right. Please don't have a party with him. Please don't let him into your house. He's going by several different TV names. Please, I swear to God, this guy's going to hurt you. And Matthew Broderick didn't listen. And I was on Matthew Broderick's side because I was like, you have such a shitty attitude about this guy having a new friend. Like,
You remember this film way better than I do.
I love the Cable Guy, but I was just like, even now I'm like, dude, I wouldn't listen to you either. Because it just sounds like you are being the pettiest piece of shit ever. Like in the movie, it totally does. Like before there's any indication that Jim Carrey is not okay, Jack Black is being a dick about it.
Of course.
He's just like being a snarky little like, my friend's not supposed to have another friend type. And I wouldn't listen to him either.
That sounds like the kind of thing that movie did, though.
Yeah, I do love that movie. It's so dark.
The only parts I remember now. It's been a long time.
It upset everyone who loved Jim Carrey movies. They went to this thing thinking it was going to be a Jim Carrey movie, and it was a Ben Stiller movie.
That was my favorite part. And it was a Ben Stiller movie before anyone knew that was going to be a whole last thing, too.
Yes, it was a Ben Stiller movie without Ben Stiller in a starring role. It was a Ben Stiller directing a movie type of thing. This is like...
he had no interest in being funny here. Everyone came here not to be not funny, and they were funny names, and I enjoyed watching the reaction, even at like 12 or whatever it was.
Yeah, it is funny. It is a funny movie. It's just very dark.
Yeah.
I mean, Ben Stiller is in it, but he's like the Menendez brothers kind of thing. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's like he and his brother killed his parents or something, and everyone's addicted to this trial. I don't know. Yeah, some interesting commentary about our society.
It's been a while.
As I'm doing a podcast about TV shows and movies.
Which we should get back to again.
Yes. Jesus God. All right, so the 5 minutes I thought were great. The gorgeous shots of Svalbard, Superman lands, Superman's wheezing, sounds like he's got a punctured lung, crushed windpipe.
I still really love the wheezing.
Whistles for Crypto. I'm not entirely sure how you whistle like that if you can't even breathe, but you know what?
I just keep hawking that up to like, if you've got the ability to do ice breath,
yeah,
you can, a little bit better than the rest of us.
Yeah, I just imagine in bad situations you muster your energy. There's no reason that a mother can lift a school bus with her child underneath it. She can with the proper amounts of adrenaline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm willing to, we're talking about a movie about an alien who gets his powers from the yellow sun. I can suspend my disbelief a little bit to say, okay, he just mustered his energy and his breath and made a whistle.
And just whistle.
It's okay. Now, Crypto runs up. And what we didn't see in the original trailer is he is just excited as hell and pounces all over Superman. Just wants to play.
Yeah, yep.
Which was delightful.
It is. It's the part it's the ragdoll nature of the leg. That's the part that really cracked me up. Like and the arm. But you could tell they spent some time on the acting of that leg, and I really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. And I've honestly, I'm not sure I've ever felt as simpatico with Superman. You know what I mean? Like I grew up with dogs. Yeah. I grew up with dogs. You feel bad, and of course that's when they want to run up and pounce on you and play.
Oh yeah, when your stomach hurts, and that's when they're gonna like double fist you in the stomach.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So he gets Crypto to go out and take him home. Crypto finally figures it out.
This is happening. I'm watching in the background. I just finally got a decent look at Crypto's collar, and it's fucking perfect.
Yeah.
It's exactly the collar I have built for my previous dog. But yeah, it's fucking perfect. It has the little studs and everything.
That's wonderful. So Crypto takes him to the Fortress of Solitude, which grows out of the ground, which is cool.
Yeah. I like there's a bark for him.
Yes. That opens it?
Yeah.
Yes. They're greeted by a number of robots. Robot number 4, which, yes, this is a thing from All-Star Superman. Y'all go back and look, and a bunch of people are like, oh, Keelix doesn't have numbers. No, this is a different thing. Robot number 4, with the voice of Alan Tudyk.
So abruptly and distinctly Alan Tudyk, and like...
So much so, yeah.
In every possible way that it just brings me so much joy every time I hear him enter a voiceover.
Yeah. So as the robots lift Superman up, he thanks them, which is the most Superman thing I've ever heard.
Right.
And robot number 4, voiced by Alan Tudyk, says, no need to thank us, sir, as we will not appreciate it. We have no consciousness whatsoever, merely automatons here to serve. Meet 12, she's new. And then 12 giggles and says he looked at me.
Yeah.
Now, I've seen many of the naysayers complain that he's already broken his own canon with this, because if robot number 4 says they're just automatons, they don't appreciate it, then somehow the number 12 giggling and being happy that Superman looked at her is, Now,
I've had this for the amount of time it took you to half start that sentence. I've got 2 explanations already. Like, Jesus Christ, y'all.
Sure. Well, first of all, I thought what Robot 4 was saying sounded sarcastic as hell. Like maybe they'd had a conversation before and Superman made a,
that could very easily just be a personality aspect of number 4. That's an air that number 4 puts on. That's an easy thing. It's a personality
It could also be, it could be that like they do have like the emotions and have all these, they have consciousnesses and whatever, but Superman made a bad comment or something earlier accidentally and upset his dignity or some shit.
Yeah.
Or it could be that he's saying it completely straight and number 12 represents a new factor, a jump forward in the sentience of the robots in the Fortress of Solitude.
Yeah. A half a second before he says she's new and then she does something new. That shouldn't be. Even if he did break the rule in that sentence, that was okay. And otherwise, it's just a robot with a personality type. It's fine.
I'm interested to see what the context of that conversation
by the way. The conversation was delightful.
I was fine with it. So I think it's interesting as they're like dragging him in or carrying him in. We hear Kryptonian language over like an intercom system.
I didn't catch that.
And as people have been complaining about like his breathing and how messed up he was, and like they actually like go down the laundry list as they're examining him. 14 fractured bones, damage to the bladder, kidney, large intestine, lungs. He's not screaming because the yellow sun hurts him, by the way. When they set him down, they say this in the clip, if anyone's willing to listen, pay attention. Forrest says, with a healthy dose of yellow sun, we'll have you up and at 'em in no time. And they freaking lock into place these magnifiers, these sunlight magnifiers that channels intense sunlight onto Superman to heal him. They said they set the power to 292 times Saharan prime. Don't know what it means, but you know what? Sounds excruciating. Same time, even if it doesn't hurt Superman, what is hurting Superman is fucking bones healing and popping back and snapping back into place.
Yeah, he's not immune to pain.
He's not immune to pain. When the hell has he ever been immune to pain?
That's not a thing. He feels everything. It's just really hard to actually hurt him, but if you can, it fucking hurts.
Like,
nose breaks like everybody else's.
So, and the robots hold him down as he screams, and it fades into trailer territory, which the trailer territory is a little different.
Really
we actually...
serious robots to even be attempting to hold him down.
Yeah.
I thought about it. Yeah, there's nothing at all crazy about this. It really is a love letter to All-Star now that you mentioned
definitely.
That's where the robots are coming from. I'll tell you, can I tell you the part about this I thought was silly, though, the part that was off-putting?
Please do.
So you're logging the, like, what is it, 282 whatever?
292.
292 sub, whatever this is, son.
292 times Saharan prime, whatever the hell that means.
There we go. If it's Saharan prime, I assume 292 times like the actual peak of the equator hitting you. But anyway, my point was, if you can't be hurt by light, I don't understand the fancy calculation and the need for it. Just put him in front of the light machine and turn it on high. I'm not sure it's totally the light. I mean, it's the sun. Like, he's getting the sun, the UV in the sun, everything, I assume. Like, the idea has always been the radiation from the sun is what gets him. So, like, if the radiation can't hurt him, well, I don't know why we need to calculate it. I just didn't know why there was a dosage necessary. You wouldn't need to be like, oh, he only needs like 36 equatorial heights here.
I mean, it's as silly as
at him too.
It's as silly as Dark Knight Returns Superman being all emaciated and flying up close to the sun, trying to get closer to the sun so that he can heal faster. It's the same thing. It's also another All-Star thing. He got too close to the sun and the radiation starts killing him.
No, so that's my point though. Is see, I logged it as a little bit silly that we did a calculation because, like, who cares? Just put the microwave on high and put him in. He'll be fine. I wondered though, because yes, All-Star has that. That's famously the big problem in All-Star is there is a point, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, his cells, I think it was not even the radiation. I think the cells just become oversaturated and start exploding and shit.
It was oversaturated with kind of whatever pseudo scientific sounding version of radiation they came up with for like his cells though just get too sparkly.
Which is the problem. Which is the problem with applying any kind of real science to it, because it's
Was he going to have cells? Yeah,
it's stupid in the first place. Like,
it's not a workable concept. Yeah, I did though. It made me wonder, especially when you pointed out the All-Star part, because I had originally logged that as a problem, but they may be getting very specific because they're going to find out. Yeah, too much sun is going to be a problem for the Superman. It could be that's part of the.
They are starting a universe. I don't think they will kill him. But
no, it just may turn out that that's one of his limits. As we learn about this Superman, we will also have to learn what can beat him up and what can take him out. What they're going to focus on, what's going to be in the world. Like in the all right, so Cavill's Superman, clearly, kryptonite was just all over this fucking planet if you knew where to look. Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess it was really in just two places, I guess. But somewhere in the Indian Ocean and somewhere else, I want to say. But
yeah.
But yeah, kryptonite was the big deal here. And then they used the environment, like the smell of the environment, Man of Steel kind of thing, on the ship to weaken him.
Yeah.
Like Worlds him, I guess.
But his real weakness, 90s grunge.
I'll fight that to the day I die. That was
I just like
that was late 2000s solo work from an earlier grunge artist. Damn it.
Yeah. I know.
If you can't pick out Chris Cornell's name in a lineup, you don't deserve to be having this conversation.
I mean, I recognize his name.
His voice, I mean, sorry.
That's a bit tougher.
That would be.
It was the 90s. Everybody had that voice.
No. Oh, I would deeply object to that. Cornell's. They don't make Cornells, man. they ain't a lot of Chris Cornell's children around. I'll fight you. I will go to Matt.
Okay. What's Matt gonna do?
No, I was to a Matt.
I know.
We only know one mutual Matt, and I don't know which way he'll go on this shit, so I wouldn't bring him in.
Oh, he'll go my way.
You think so?
As long as you don't tell him it's my way.
That's fair.
Matt Carroll of MCU Cast.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely agree with me as long as he doesn't know I am the one who said it.
That's fair. So as long as you got started and I opposed it, he would be fully on board with me.
Yeah. We have to trick him to get a real opinion. That's the thing.
Well, I'd be scared to bring him in because I think he's knowledgeable enough about the topic that he'd have an opinion, but he may be solidly against me and have 2-on-1 then.
Yeah.
He is a singer though. I think he would. Yeah. I think he would side with me on this one. That Cornell's voice is quite unique.
I'm not saying there's not. All the 90s singers have like specific little things that they do that make them unique, but there was just a specific style in the 90s that I don't know why. Sometimes I'm okay with it and sometimes I'm not. But I mean, I like Black Hole Sun. I'll give that.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a rasp. There was certainly the closed throat thing they did, but Cornell never did that part. He was a raspy kind of guy. He didn't do the Pearl Jam.
No, he doesn't quite do that, but he does more of a. He does more of the Cobain nasally thing. Like it's like channels it through the nose,
through the back.
I think so.
Back of the throat, straight through the top of the nose thing.
Yeah. I think that was the thing, and maybe I'd never really listened to him after Soundgarden. I tried a couple of times, and just went, it's not me.
Just when he actually gets in range, it's a deeply, deeply crystal clear, very, very high range voice. Beautiful.
I'm sure. He
can scream with the best. I've never known. If you go back to Jesus Christ post or something, he can scream like anybody in 1990 would love to have had those pipes, but he actually can sing properly.
I'll say I'm pretty open. I'm pretty open though. Like I like giving you shit.
That is fair.
I do like giving you shit, but when I was a kid, I didn't really care for STP. Like them a whole lot more now. Like going back, like my wife is still like, ugh, gross, and I'm like, no, there's something here. It actually is better than. Still can't do Pearl Jam quite like a lot of 90s people can.
Well, it was the voice thing. I never could get over the thing.
Aside from laughing at it, I just can't get into it.
I didn't even like. I mean, STP was my favorite band for a very, very long time, and even then, the first parts, like I loved Wildland's voice when he got clear. It was gorgeous, but I didn't love that first album's when he did the dialect almost for it.
Mm-hmm.
I am standing like a rule. He could have done that just as well without the affectation, and I would have been fine.
Yeah.
Like by the time you hear Interstate Love Song or something, you're not listening to the same thing. That's not the same as Plush at all.
Yeah.
Anyone who actually still knows those two songs and gives a shit.
Yeah. But at the same time, like I hear stuff like Nickelback and Creed, and I go, "Look what you did!
Yeah, I know. That's fucking.
Look what you did!"
That is exactly what they did, though. And they should be ashamed.
It's how you react to Led Zeppelin when you hear Van Halen.
Yes.
Like, you see, motherfucker.
Yeah, if y'all had stopped after hadn't done those last couple studio albums, we could have been spared.
We have gone so far off.
We could have had an '80s full of David Byrne and blues and Bob Dylan doing weird shit, but no. Instead, we got Poison.
Oh God!
What was Superman doing again? Where were we with that? Where
Anyway,
in the behind the scenes look.
Yeah. So, this was still the 5-minute thing.
Oh yeah, we're still in the 5 minute.
Where the robots hold him down. He screams. It fades into trailer territory. Trailer's a little different.
Yeah.
We actually hear Lex say he's back when he sees Superman flying out the window. We have some extended action in VFX, like Superman up close in the Kaiju fireball. And we know why Superman is kind of hanging back with that big eyeball attacking the city, and he's talking to Lois and taking his sweet time. There's a Green Lantern back there fighting him. There's a Green Lantern taking care of it. He doesn't need to be the right. And I think that's going to be a big thing in the movie. Somebody said, and I don't remember, I may have put this in the notes. At some point I got overwhelmed and I don't know what I put in there, but
it was a long week. I can't even make sense of my notes if we're being honest, but
it's a long month. There was an interview somewhere where someone, I want to say it was Corn Sweat, made mention of, one of the ways into this character is him dealing with the fact that he can't do everything. He can't save everyone. He can't be everywhere. And I think, what we're looking at in this trailer, and one of the picture, the first official picture we got of Superman was the suit being all messed up and him sort of like lackadaisically, or not really lackadaisically. It looked like he was tired as fuck putting on that boot while an alien attacks the city behind him.
The very first shot.
Yeah. And it's that same...
People were scrutinizing the wrinkliness of the uniform.
Yeah, and scrutinizing the fact that he wasn't hurrying to go out the door. Mm-hmm. And that was exasperated later on when we got that trailer, and he was hanging out with Lois, and the thing is in the background, destroying the city. Well, one, we see that in this little trailer, we see that there's a Green Lantern fighting that eyeball in the background.
I just sort of see what looks like a construct back there doing something.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. It's just like a green beam doing some shit.
It's got girders,
we know what that means.
It's going to maybe be an actual green iron girder beam.
Yeah.
Like he was not imaginative.
No. But we know what that means. But also, like, I think one of the themes of this movie is that Superman cannot be everywhere and do everything himself. Like, the fact that they're bringing in Justice League members, the fact that they're, like, much to the chagrin of several fans who are worried that this is going to be too stuffed. It's not a Superman movie. It's all about Justice League. No, I think that's what they're doing. I think they are going full-fledged into, hey, here is a big part of this character, and that character cannot do everything.
It does seem to be building toward the idea that like everyone else is going to join his cause. Like all these tangential characters, all these extra big pieces of DC universe seem like they may be, or you hear Brosnahan say in the sneak peek, we'll get to at some point, like we could use a lot more of that kind of thing. But yeah, you may be that. It's just that like maybe they're just joining what he's been doing for so long at this point.
Yeah. And, part of what makes Superman interesting to me, and I feel like I've seen Gunn, and I may actually have it written down, like I said, but I feel like I've seen Gunn say this, is that one of the interesting things about Superman is dealing with the fact that he can't save everybody. And that's, they touched on that in the Christopher Reeve movie, albeit briefly.
Yeah.
It's the fantastic Alex Ross Paul Dini Superman Peace on Earth graphic novel that if you haven't seen is ginormous size and you should check it out. It's amazing. But this is a man who can hear people, and this is something we saw in this trailer that I fucking loved, is the chance.
With the heart and the whole... You've told me about this scene 100 times, where like he couldn't stop his heart from stopping,
Oh yeah, no, it's not that long. It's like he races Clark up to the house, and Clark gets up to the house and turns back, and Pa is like collapsing, and he like runs back to Pa, and then they like fade into the funeral, and at the graveside, young Clark is weeping and says, "For all my powers, I couldn't save him."
Yeah, It, which is chokes me up even to hear you say it again. It's just a hell of a scene. But yeah, that does very much feel like where they're shooting a little bit here.
Yeah, but also like this is a guy that can hear, like, and this is something they put in this trailer is like people chanting and screaming for Superman, Superman, Superman.
Yeah,
and it's one of the most harrowing notions of being Superman is hearing people all over the world screaming out for you 24 hours a day.
Yeah, and
not being able to help them. You literally can't help everyone. And then you also pile on top of that you want to have a life. And, what is they've said that he and Lois have just a few months into dating in this movie. What does that do to a relationship?
Yeah.
Just starting out. Like, this isn't like Superman and Lois or, where they're married and they have a few kids and they have a life, and when a big thing happens, she's like, go, and he flies away. Like, no, you are relatively new to this, and every fucking second of your day, you are hearing people screaming, people who are dying.
Yeah.
Screaming for your help.
It is one thing to have like a lot of weight on your shoulders and have some responsibility and even be saving people. It is another thing to be able to literally hear someone in Australia scream your name in a moment of just sheer panic. I don't know, attacked by a fucking kangaroo. Who knows? In this scenario, but like it's just a moment of sheer panic on the other side of the planet, and they scream for your name before their death. But you hear it. You heard that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I might be picking up more than they're putting down, but it's James Gunn, so I'm betting I'm not.
You may not be. I think some of the themes are definitely in there, and some of the little bit of press I'd seen before that all seem to be leading up to this giant barrage of the same kind of thing. That like over and over again, I've seen that stress. This is a good person. Like they're going to focus deeply on the fact that Superman is just a good person, and everything else is going to come out of that.
Yeah. So James Gunn says, I don't consider this a trailer, by the way. He says more of a sneak peek. I'm actually just finishing up the next trailer for you all now, and oh boy, am I excited for you to see it. Someone said, Superman's second trailer win, and James Gunn says, we just released 5 minutes of footage in theaters, so it will be a beat. On more Cinemacon Superman teases that all sound right up my alley. Gunn describes Superman as a modern take on the Man of Steel with a story that is utterly human and utterly fantastic at the same time. He offered these teases, quote, pocket universes, sorcery, flying dogs, Max Fleischer cartoons. I'm like, yes, all of that. Yeah. All of that.
Do those.
He says, I really do believe in this movie, and I do believe that there is a lack of human kindness, or at least a degradation of human kindness. This is a movie that celebrates kindness and human love. And look, we're at the 45-minute mark on our recording, so I'm going to go to break.
That's fair.
And we're just going to pop right back into this and just keep talking about Superman for a while. Be right back. All right, we're back. Now, before Gunn and his little crew here took the stage at the Coliseum in Caesar's Palace, they sat down with Entertainment Weekly, and this is like this whole interview I'm going to talk about.
And like you said, this is you went to a river, just a deluge, and grabbed as many 5-gallon buckets of information as you could get back.
Well, I like this whole interview, so I'm going to talk about it.
But it's not the whole damn river. They've been talking a lot.
Yeah. Entertainment Weekly asked, James, is the central conflict in Superman adapted from one particular comic book, or would you describe it more as an original story inspired by an assemblage of different material? Gunn said, I would say it's an original story, but the tone and the look of the film in many ways is inspired by Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely's all-star Superman. But if I wrote my own story, then I could just rip off their look. No, I'm kidding. They're really great guys, and they're incredibly talented artists, and I read that comic book, and it really has this feeling of the big, old-school science fiction Silver Age comics. We have robots and monster babies and giant kaiju and all of that stuff, but that is also grounded around these incredibly real relationships with a couple that has started dating a few months ago, and now they're really learning the ins and outs of each other, what's good about them, what's not so good about them, and what are their ideals like. We have Lois Lane, who's a pragmatist, and Superman, who's an idealist, and how does that work together? My wife and I are like that, actually. They said, what would you say is the central conflict of the story? Gunn says, I think we weave in and out of various conflicts, but the central conflict is between, and then Nicholas Hoult says, it's a love triangle. And Gunn says, yeah, and laughs. And he says, the central conflict revolves around a lot around Lex Luthor's attempts to defeat and destroy Superman. I think Lex Luthor thinks of Superman in the way that an artist thinks of AI. Here's this guy who's this incredible genius scientist who's worked his whole life to become one of the richest, most powerful men in the country, or sorry, the world. Mm-hmm. And he does it all to be lauded. I mean, he wants to be the greatest, and suddenly this jerk comes in wearing a cape with a lantern jaw and a cocky grin, and he just takes all of the oxygen out of the room of the Earth, and it creates a burning hatred in this guy. David, Rachel, and Nick, there have been a lot of incarnations of these characters over the years. How would you describe your approach and what made it feel genuine? Corn Sweat says, I think with characters that have been around for so long, have had so many wonderful iterations on screen and print, live plays. Wasn't there a Superman musical? And Rachel says, there was a Superman on the stage. And Gunn says, we watched it. And Corn Sweat says, they are very simple characters in the way that they can exist in the public consciousness. Everybody knows who they are and the basic things about them. But over the decades, so much of these characters have been excavated by different contributors, different writers, different artists, different actors. So to take that on, to have an opportunity to maybe illuminate something new about the character or bring it to a new audience is always a really exciting opportunity. For me, rather than think about anything old or new, I just found that the thing that I was drawn to most with Superman was the tension between his love of humanity and the role that he can play for them, and the loneliness that he feels in the fact that he can never quite be one of them. And that plays out in so many different ways, not least of which is his love of being Clark Kent and getting to play as one of them, at least for short periods of time.
The way
and Brosnahan, yeah, Brosnahan says, we were lucky that James laid such a clear roadmap for us. James has spent more time with these characters than any of us had probably going in. So there's so much of all of them and all the different lives that have lived through these different iterations on the page. And like theater in a way, it was our job to do our homework and find our own ways into these characters that hopefully you don't feel the seams of when you see them on the screen. And that's what makes them so uniquely their own. And Entertainment Weekly says, similarly, James, as a filmmaker, how did you make these familiar characters your own? And he says, I think I bring questions to the material. It's the same thing I asked at the beginning of my journey with Guardians of the Galaxy. I said, okay, there's a talking raccoon. That sounds a little silly, but what if it was real? How would it be real? And what would it be like? And I realized at the beginning, before I ever even took on writing the screenplay for Guardians, that meant the character was the saddest character who's ever existed in the history of the universe. And the story was the journey of him learning to be connected to the rest of the universe, becoming a part of things as opposed to separate from things. It's the same question here. What I tried to bring to it is something beautiful that is about the goodness of human beings, about kindness in people, because that's what Superman represents to me. He almost represents something old-fashioned, and yet I think that's exactly what we need right now. Kindness, goodness, the innate moral values that we grew up with, that somehow the internet has drowned out and deemed weak. That's who he is, and that's what his strength is. So that interested me. And then bringing a complexity to the relationship between Superman and Lois, and also between Lois and Lex. We have a great 10-minute scene of Lois and Clark going over their relationship, the way they look at the world, their ideals, their ethics, and how that makes them who they are. And then they said, Nick, can you say anything about what particular business Lex is in and what Luthor Corp is in the film? And Holt says, tech defense? Defense? Yeah, I can't say exactly more than that. Probably, right? And Gunn says, I think Lex has invented one of the best forms of battery in the entire world that almost everything runs on. And we don't ever talk about this in the movie, but I think that's where he made the majority of his money. And Holt says, you described him in one moment as a sorcerer, the level of science. And I like that in terms of just understanding the level of genius he's working with, and also the science that's at play in the story and how that evolves, and also the recklessness that he plays with. And I think that also plays into the lengths he's willing to go to and the risks he's willing to take for his goal. And then ethically, the question that people start to question, I suppose, even though he presents himself with something very different and controls the narrative in that as well. And EW says, James, Superman is the first movie to be released as part of the larger DC universe you're establishing. How is this movie setting the tone for what's to come? And Gunn says, I think it's only setting the tone so far as that this is 100% a James Gunn movie, and what I want with the future films is for them to be the same. Not James Gunn movies, but when I talked to Craig Gillespie, who's doing Supergirl, I said, I don't want all of these movies to be the same. What I love about DC Comics is that you can read a story like The Dark Knight, which is tonally very different because of its artist and writer than Superman for All Seasons, than All-Star Superman, than Batman The Long Halloween. There are all these beautiful stories within the same world, but completely different, and that's what I think is exciting. I think that I learned from my time at Marvel when Guardians of the Galaxy came out, people were like, well, how is this raccoon going to interact with this God of Thunder who's been set up in a totally different type of movie? And that was the thing that people liked the most about Infinity Wars.
Yeah.
So it's about really letting the artist create these unique visions that allow us to get to know these characters in different ways. I look forward to the time when these characters, one of them does show up pretty soon. 2 of them, actually. So anyway, when they get to see them in a totally different light, in a totally different genre, in a film that isn't the big spectacle, action, adventure, maybe something more dramatic, maybe something more comedic, whatever, and see these characters in a slightly different light portrayed by the same actors.
But he doesn't want to he doesn't want there to be a term like a Marvel movie.
Right. Which
a term we've all gotten used to. Yeah, it's another Marvel movie. Like,
also, I've never agreed with that. That's something that, naysayers, it's the Marvel formula. It's the Marvel formula. I'm like, okay. It also just looks like the fucking hero's journey.
Yeah, I don't think it's like a Marvel. I don't think the Marvel movies have a specific type of Marvel formula. They're using the same story archetypes that everybody has for the centuries before them. They didn't rewrite this.
Right.
And hell, even then, the movies are all, for the most part, derivative of the books themselves. They've already written some of that.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I don't know where it's going with that, actually.
All right, fair enough.
We've bounced around too much. I've forgotten.
Yeah. EW says, is it fair to say that this movie is a love story between Superman and Lois? Brosnahan says, sure. I think one of the things that I loved so much about the Christopher Reeve, Margot Kidder, Richard Donner Superman was that it felt like a love story wrapped in a universe that was familiar, but not quite our own. And isn't love at the root of every story in a way? You have to love so hard to hate something too. I think it's interesting to see these two characters exploring their love because she's somebody, as you said, who leads with her heart, or with her head. He's somebody who leads with his heart. What does Lex lead with? And Holt says, honestly, I would think of him as leading with love for humanity in some ways, but then how he displays it, because obviously he's egotistical and selfish, but in some ways it would be a humanist element of the character and God and all these things that he perceives himself to be in protecting their faith. And Cornsweat says, this conversation made me see an interesting, weird, strange thing, which may not be true, but Lex is sort of a combination of Superman and Lois, where he has all of Lois's intelligence and foresight and skepticism that allows him to make these incredible advances and control the narrative and the government and all these things that he has control over. But he has Superman's passion for the world and for being a symbol of something, standing for something and being a public-facing symbol. And maybe the downfall is that Lex has decided what's right between those two and which should win out, whereas Superman and Lois are in a constant battle about what is right. So they each get checked by the other. And then Brosnan says, but they also bring out each other's humanity.
Yeah, I can do it.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
I do kind of. I see what you're saying about the three-way aspect of that. Like they are all traveling together anyway. So yeah, they're very much going to be fighting for each other's attention in some sort of borderline Oedipal way anyway. I'm going to be interested to see the philosophies bounce across each other this way too. Like Lex is going to have a little bit of that aspect of someone who does good as long as it aggrandizes him. Like as long as you're applauding him properly for all the good he's doing, he will continue to be a great person. But as soon as that gets taken out of the equation, like for instance in this case, another guy taking up all the aggrandization, he's just going to turn out to be a narcissistic prick after all, with super science powers.
Now, I like this too. There was a profile on Cornsweat in Time, and Gunn explained his thought process during casting, and went on to talk about what exactly makes Cornsweat the right fit for Superman.
I'm getting used to his face again, finally.
Oh, who, Cornsweat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing against him. It's just that it takes a minute to put somebody else in the suit in your head.
Yeah. I mean, some of us never do.
Yeah.
So he was talking about a couple of other leading men of his, Chris Pratt and John Cena, and Gunn emphasized the importance of treating everyone with kindness and respect. And he says, I've seen sets that cater to an actor or a director's ego, and that's just not something that would happen with David. He is Superman, even in his nerdiness. He listens to old jazz standards. Like, that's what he listens to, just as a normal procedure. Like Superman, he's a simple man in complicated times. And he said Cornsweat wouldn't have been cast as...
No, just Coltrane on a Tuesday.
Yeah. And he pointed out, Cornsweat would not have been cast as Superman unless he was going to follow suit and treat everyone with kindness and respect.
Yeah, he would not have one of those stories. You can't have that. You cannot have somebody wearing that cape and then off screen be a dick. The press will not let you have it.
No.
You have to be a bona fide sweetheart in and out. You remember, that was one of the nice things about the old George Reeves tradition of it, though, right? Like he really prided himself on doing a lot of like good work with kids while he was in costume. He thought he should be an example. I've always liked it when the actors have taken on that part of it.
Yeah. Same with William Hartnell in Doctor Who. Anyway, I like this. This is interesting. No, doesn't mean anything, but it's fun. James Gunn and Jim Lee saw Superman in the same theater when they were kids.
Oh, yeah. I saw that somewhere.
Did you see this? Okay.
Some clip of them talking somewhere.
Yeah, same theater in St. Louis. That's really neat.
It is odd. Yeah, I think they said there's no reason to believe they were sitting in there at the same time in the same row or some shit. But like it was the same building.
Yeah.
For the same showing of the same movie. Or
same run.
Same run
anyway.
That's good.
No. All right. So we got a new Superman featurette on Superman Day, which was yesterday by our count. And James talks about how he loves the purity of Superman when he was a kid, or he loved the purity of Superman when he was a kid. He didn't know if he should be doing Superman. He struggled with it for years. Peter Safran says one day Gunn called him and said he figured out a way in. There's a clip of Gunn saying this character is noble, he's beautiful. I thought it was interesting because the footage shows that the robots are real. They're practical effects.
Yeah, he's playing patty cake with one of them.
Yep. At some point, we see Hawkgirl smashing through a window, clutching a person with a black suit and white hair, and I was like, who is that? Who is she fighting right now? Is it Simon Stagg? That was my guess.
There are a lot of little Easter eggs like that in this.
Yeah.
I like they're out in the actual snow for the shot of him falling.
Oh, yeah, they're in Svalbard, for sure.
Yeah, I hadn't really put it together that was off somewhere cold until I saw it all happening together.
Really? We talked about that because like the internet in the usual suspects, as we say, we're all like, "Oh, this is terrible CGI. It's terrible CGI," and then everybody was, and then everything came out, and Gunn actually even addressed it. Was like, "Dude, this is literally Svalbard. Like, none of this was CGI."
I did wonder about that though. Like, he said none, but like really, like the ridges around the exact shape. You had to have done that practically. Did you have somebody come shape it?
I think
and
so.
Then lay down in it. No, that's fine. But I imagine there's a lot of problems. Like he's also got the red blood spot there. Well, that can only be there for so long to make exactly. That might be CGI. We don't know. Like that. There's a lot of stuff in there. There's plenty of stuff in there that could be touched up.
I mean, touched up,
Lines.
sure, possibly. But what they were referring to was like
the whole set.
The looking like he's in snow and he's flying around mountains and stuff. And they're like, no, that was practically shot. Yeah. I thought Hawkgirl and Metamorpho looked really cool.
They do.
I've seen some shit talking. But importantly, it's not like shit talking from people who matter. Like I am seeing overwhelming positivity for this movie until I go on Facebook.
I deeply advise leaving that place.
Yeah, and then it's just like the bitter Snyder people. Yeah. That's all it is.
Yeah, I guess they have to live somewhere.
I guess. I mean, it sucks. We used to be allies. We used to want the same things.
That's my time.
We still do, but things change. We go
alliances shift.
Look, yeah, like I say every episode. I want the Snyderverse to be around and to finish up and stuff. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
We want different ways of going about it, but
I'd mentioned it before that we were I think at some point years ago now. I'd said, at this point I'll be mad if they do release the Snyder Cut because it'll do this, this, and this.
And it did exactly what you said.
Everything I said it was going to do, to be sure.
Yeah.
But
I believe
also enjoyed
the
Snyder Cut.
Yeah, I love the Snyder Cut. It's great.
But to that end, all of my arguments are the same this time. I don't want to see anything else from the Snyderverse for another 10 years. This has to live on its own for so long.
Yeah.
Before any of that I would actually be mad now if you told me, yeah, we're going to do this thing. It's a distraction. What are you doing? Y'all are fucking up again. How many fucking times do you have to learn this lesson?
Yeah. I think I agree with that. Like if Gunn, and it's never going to let up. Even 10 years from now, if every fucking movie that James Gunn puts out under the DC Studios umbrella is a $1 billion hit, right? Mm-hmm. If in 10 years he decides, oh yeah, I'm talking to Zach, we're going to do an Elseworlds continuation of Snyderverse and wrap that up. Snyder Bros are still going to be laughing and going, oh, the DCU flopped, so he's desperate and going back to Snyder. I'm like, they don't care about numbers. They don't care about logic. They don't care about anything in the real world. I mean,
it wouldn't matter.
We really shouldn't want Snyderverse to not happen just because of them, because I want to see it. I want to see the end, so I'm rooting for it. It doesn't matter what Gunn does; they're gonna have a pitch a fit about it.
It's not that. It would just be that in this. That would be the funny thing is like they're such a small portion now. They're loud, but they're not even as loud as they used to be. They're getting crowded out finally, or thankfully. But I don't know, man. I don't know how much it'll matter in 10 years. What their justification would be. I just know at this point it would be very much the wrong decision. I hate to side with the whole, because it's not the same, I don't feel like, as siding with this whole, like, a character can exist in two places at once. Like, we could have had the Constantine movie while Constantine the show was on, and that would have been fine. Yeah. But that is a very different argument than what I'm saying right here, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the overall problem. Like, Warner Brothers, in their way, was right about that. The fan bases, they're too toxic. It will shift.
I think if you give that enough time, like the Snyder people are already, some like 2% of what matters anyway. Yeah. They're irrelevant. They're just irrelevant. So like they're going to be more and more so. I think there's just going to be a period not too far from now. Honestly, a few months from now, if we're being real, like 6 months from now, I think Warner Brothers is just moving into a new era if they haven't already. As soon as this movie does fine and starts establishing something, they'll be well on their way to disregarding anything that's happened before. And we're already past a point where I think they've learned their lesson on trying to make little cul-de-sacs that make a little bit extra money and keep people happy in heavy quotation marks while actually starting big fights instead. I don't know. They're dumb. They're dumb as shit, but I think they figured it out this time finally.
Maybe. We'll see. Honestly, like, I want all the things. I do.
You just can't safely apply it.
I know. You can't. It sucks. I loved Gunn and the engineer posing with all the Lex soldiers. James sitting down in that craft that's red and white. What the hell is that? Mm-hmm. What kind of ship is that?
I don't know.
You got Fillion talking about James writes stories with heart. Superman is a character who is good. He's filled with hope. He saves people because it's the right thing to do. Dude, did you see the Lex mech suit? The Lex battle suit?
Is that what that is?
I think that's what that is.
The bubbly one?
Yeah.
Okay. I've been wondering.
I think that's what that is. Lots of talk in this thing about how this is the start of a new universe. They're driving that home pretty heavily. I'm excited, dude. It looks cool. It looks really cool. And God help me, I've gotten choked up a few times.
Yeah.
Hearing them talk about their take on Superman.
Yeah.
It does give me the feel that All-Star Superman gave me.
He was right. All-Star feels like it's out of space and time in a way. You have to remember that it actually came a little bit later than some of the other classics that it sits with.
It did, but oh my God, it's so good.
It rests there so comfortably, doesn't it?
It's so good. It was like when All-Star Superman came out. I mean, I don't have a graphic novel, a deluxe edition, an absolute edition of All-Star Superman. I have the original run
if you want, but
I have the original run in the comics. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I have several variant covers. Yeah. At the same time, when I was buying these, I was also subscribed to all of the current Superman books. And I just, I hate to be the guy who, puts down to lift up. But at the same time, I would read All-Star Superman and read the others and go, the fuck are y'all doing? Yeah. Mainstream Superman books suck compared to this. How have you managed to make Superman this boring when Grant Morrison is over here elevating the fuck out of this character in a way that feels like it should have always been this way?
What's got to suck is to be the guy doing the monthly and doing good work, good enough work that it's what's being made right now, and you're probably working on some story that you're proud of and all that. But then you look over at the other simultaneous issues coming out, and you see what Grant Morrison's doing, and then you look back at your pages and just go, oh, these are simple, aren't they?
And I get that the mainstream books were the mainstream books, and the mainstream books had to tie in with whatever fucking event that they were leading up to.
They are hamstrung as hell, yes.
And yes, they are incredibly hamstrung. Same time. Oh my God. Oh, good God. What a fantastic Superman story.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have anything else on Superman? Because I'm going to move on to Peacemaker. If you do.
Yeah, let's move. Yeah.
Cool. Let's see. In an interview with comicbook.com, Danielle Brooks was talking, and they were talking about the weirdness of both the Minecraft movie and the Peacemaker universes. And they asked which one was weirder. Brooks did say that they're both weird, but season 2 of Peacemaker really sets the bar. When asked which one was weirder, she says, "Oh, both of them. But after season 2 of Peacemaker, I feel like that one might have it." I think so. Yeah, I think so for sure. But here's what I say: if the DC universe isn't weirder than Minecraft, what are we even doing? Like.
Yeah.
I've read a lot of comic books. I've read a lot of DC. It's a lot of weird shit going on.
On my right is one from the 80s, Panic in the Sky. I think you explained this one to me, that like it's not even Superman that's like, I don't even think this is actually Superman. This is some mid-80s chaos is what this shit is.
Mm-hmm.
And like, if I look over to my left, I've got like a version that's from the Action 1000 that does it's referencing like the mermaid almost versions of him from the 70s. When we were really stretching for ideas at the end of the Code Authority bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, yeah, this shit gets weird.
Yeah.
Real weird.
Absolutely. James Gunn has announced that Peacemaker Season 2 will start on August 21st on Max.
That is company.
He says he's finished the DI and mix on the season premiere. He says it's one of his favorite things ever. I'm down. I'm excited about Peacemaker Season 2.
Absolutely.
And they even put out we got like a few little snippets because they put out like this like coming to Max soon trailer, and I think there's like maybe 10 seconds of Peacemaker, and it's not worth even really talking about, but it's out there.
It's hard to grasp. I wouldn't know what kind of cohesive take to have on those 10 seconds, man.
It's like, oh, look, he's got soot on his face, and there's fire, and then, okay, he's in the car with Adebayo, and okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. That's about it.
We've gotten some... since I've done those bullshit English class writing exercises where you come up with 15 minutes on nothing. But yeah, I'm sure there's a 15-minute YouTube breakdown of those 10 seconds if anybody wants to find it.
Probably.
I don't have that in me.
No. Over to Lanterns. Man, they've been adding cast members. So they added a key character in Jon Stewart's world, Jasmine Cephas Jones from Origin and Blindspotting, who is joining the cast as young Bernadette, who is played in the present day by Nicole Arie Parker. And Jones will play a key role in the show as fans get to see Bernadette's resilience and ability to keep the family going, I guess Jon Stewart's family, going through the trials that come their way. She is described as a perceptive, big-picture thinker who also demands excellence from herself and her family. They've also added J. Alphonse Nicholson to its growing ensemble. It says the P-Valley Star has been cast as the young version of John Sr., father to Aaron Pierre's Jon Stewart. Chris Coy has signed on to portray Waylon Sanders, according to Deadline, an intelligent survivor or a nervous truck driver. Age and real name unknown. He's unbound by the laws of nature. I don't know what I'm reading here. And Entertainment Weekly has reported that Nathan Fillion will return as Guy Gardner in Lanterns. I feel like we already knew that. But Gunn has mentioned that, quote, a few other Lanterns would be, quote, peppered in there as surprises for DC fans. And now we know at least one of them will be Guy Gardner. I'm down. Love to see Guy. I'm already completely sold on Fillion as Guy Gardner. I would have watched him as Hal Jordan. I'm good with him being Guy Gardner. Yeah. I feel like I've had both in my life. So
yeah.
Now, let's talk about Supergirl, because some janky shit has happened. One, there were set pictures of Supergirl fighting people on top of a tank from way, way, way far off. And some of them, people were getting all up in arms because they were like, why is her belt on the outside of her cape? My friends, that is not what you were seeing. What you were seeing is Supergirl wearing the very top part of a cape, and then you see her belt, and then you see her skirt, because she was in action scenes that she can, in the real world, you can't fight and do a bunch of action scenes with a damn cape. So, like, if you saw those and you're already mad about the costume, don't be. They're going to add the cape and post on those shots. I mean,
there's a shot in this sneak peek where he's jumping up on a climbing wall, and you can see the. I think there's a couple in here where you can see the cape is like 5 inches worth of cape attached to the top. I think it's just to get the red and the over the shoulder shots, honestly. Absolutely.
That's what it do. So, but there are, I'm not going to go into total detail here, but there are set pictures or set video of her with a cape. It is a long ass cape. And that, I mean, it's not even a spoiler. It is the Supergirl outfit from Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. That's what it looks like. But with the Corn Sweat Kingdom Come logo. It looks perfect. It looks fantastic. I'm so fucking excited for this. It looks so good. So yeah, that's out of the way. Those were real, but there were ones of Lobo. I even sent you one. I was tricked. They had ones of Lobo. Yeah. Been debunked. It was created by ChatGPT.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that
how?
I don't know. I don't know enough about the AI shit. I just don't. I don't. People are like, oh, yeah. I guess you just tell it like, hey, here's a shot of, they probably put in like a shot from one of the set pictures or whatever that were taken the real.
Yeah.
And then they were like, hey, here are pictures of Jason Momoa and here are pictures of Lobo. Make it photorealistic. They probably fucked with it for a while. I don't know.
I mean, maybe. I just mean, like, normally
Jason.
not the technical part of it, because some of that's possible. Just like usually if you bring in an IP, you're getting shut out real soon. Like I couldn't just be like, give me a realistic set photo of Lobo as Jason Momoa on blah, blah,
right.
Blah.
No, I think they probably
give me a scary dude on a bike that kind of looks like this.
Yeah.
Upload picture here. And
that's why, like, I was a little like shocked that it didn't look more like Lobo. Like I thought it was, I thought it was a weird motorcycle. That was the biggest thing.
That makes more sense though.
I thought it was like a weird motorcycle, but I was like,
it's a fun use of an AI hoax, because like anything that's wrong, you're going to be like, well, let's create 1,000 excuses for why that'll not look quite right in this dot.
But it's also, a superhero movie, and at any given time, I'm going to look at a superhero movie and go like, I already have 17 things that I would have done differently because it doesn't line up with the source material. Yeah. So
I
like
love the 1983 version.
Right. There's a part of me that's like, I wanted the original Giffen Lobo with the orange suit. Yeah. But but yeah, so that was debunked. That was ChatGPT. Guy made it, came forward and shit. So we still haven't seen Lobo. And we haven't even seen an official Supergirl. But I'll tell you this, what I did see was badass. Look, Jason Momoa on Instagram said, "What's up, everybody? I just wrapped Lobo." And then there was a bunch of stuff about e-bikes and Minecraft or some shit. I don't care. I just stopped watching it after that. And I only cared about him rapping Lobo. I was like, dope.
Got what I needed. Out.
Got what I needed. Don't care about e-bikes or Minecraft. Sergeant Rock.
Oh, God, yeah.
The Cinemacon thing, it seemed so apparently they said that it is shooting this summer, from what I understood from one of the news sources. But I couldn't find confirmation of that. I am shocked if that's going to happen.
I know he had the big update, but it didn't memorize all the statuses currently. I couldn't remember if Rock was one of the ones.
Yeah.
He gave us like green, yellow, red light tags for everything the other day. But
yeah. I thought it was interesting. Like there was like, I saw a couple of sources that was like breaking down what happened at Cinemacon or what was said at Cinemacon. I never found an actual quote, but one of them, and I don't even remember which one it was, said that Sergeant Rock was shooting this summer. I could not find confirmation on that anywhere else when I looked, and I may just be like not doing my due diligence. And now I want to look it up again. Yeah. Google says there are reports that Sergeant Rock movie is aiming to begin filming this summer, specifically in the UK.
Okay.
That's weird. Okay. Well, or maybe they're just hoping to. I don't know. Last I heard is Colin Farrell was interested in doing it. So, whatever. All right. So, you know what time it is, Jason? It's time for the WBTea.
That's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
I'm getting more used to him as it goes.
Ben Affleck reveals what really went wrong with his Batman.
Oh, okay.
He says, I had a really good time. I loved doing the Batman movie. I loved Batman v Superman. And I liked my brief stints on The Flash that I did, and when I got to work with Viola Davis on Suicide Squad for a day or two. In terms of creatively, I think that I like the idea and the ambition that I had for it, which was of the sort of older, broken, damaged Bruce Wayne. And it was something we really went for in the first movie. But what happened was it started to skew too old for a big part of the audience. Like even my own son at the time was too scared to watch the movie. And so when I saw that, I was like, oh shit, we have a problem. Then I think that's when you had a filmmaker that wanted to continue down that road and a studio that wanted to recapture all the younger audiences at cross purposes. then you have two entities, two people really wanting to do something different, and that is a really bad recipe.
Well, yeah, when you have one person saying, we made this and we're going to continue to make this. Like, the problem with Warner Brothers wasn't so much that they said, I see what you've made, and what we'd rather do is we'd like to tweak it into doing this. They were really saying the whole time, I wish we'd done this instead, and trying to warp the products that were already there into it.
Right. And I love that Ben has enough thought to be like, hey, so I'm not shitting on Snyder, but the thing that we were doing was not kid friendly.
I do like the anecdote of him sitting there, like, trying to talk his kid into, like, no, man, it's okay. It's fine. Like, I don't know, Dad. Like, that must have hit him in the gut in a way. If it really did happen that way, where he's like, are you seriously, like you must be thinking at that point, oh no, we've made some serious missteps that I didn't see coming.
Yeah.
That's way beyond just like putting on a trailer for a movie you want to watch and be like, really? No, seriously, you don't want to?
Yeah, that puts a more human spin on it than just Warner Brothers wanted it to be like Marvel.
Well, it's different than like Warner Brothers and the audience as a concept, and it's just less general. Like I'm just imagining his kid sitting in, next to him in a Denali or whatever the fuck the dude drives, and like, yeah, just what do you mean you don't want to see it? Like, really? And then rethinking a lot of things. Yeah.
Over to the Penguin season 2. Warner Brothers executive Channing Dungey offered an update on Penguin season 2 to Deadline. She says, the door is not closed on it completely, but there is nothing currently in the works. The Penguin is one of those things, this is her quoting, the Penguin is one of those things where, and it's interesting because when you talk with everyone involved, everyone is interested in possibly revisiting those characters and doing more. It was very much designed, though, as a limited series, but I would never say never. I think if we can get the creative stars to line up in the right way and the talent available, because we certainly wouldn't want to do this without Colin or Kristen and that team, I would say it's definitely a possibility, but there's nothing in the works at the moment. So everybody just put away your dicks.
Yeah.
Stop worrying about Colin Farrell for a minute.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying at the beginning. It was like, dude, I like the Penguin, but I didn't need another season.
Well, and think about what lesson did they just learn about announcing things and then them turning into other things. So we don't get an announcement of it Penguin 2, even if it is fucking happening, y'all.
That's right. The Flash, the CW show, was the focus of a reunion panel at Fan Expo Cleveland over the weekend. Well, it wasn't this weekend, but it was a previous weekend because we haven't done a show in a long time. And Grant Gustin, Candace Patton, Danielle Panabaker, and Tom Cavanaugh were all in attendance. And they were asked if they would be interested in coming back to reprise their roles in an animated The Flash movie. And they all said yes. Grant Gustin said yeah. Tom Cavanaugh said absolutely, 100% absolutely. And Danielle Panabaker says, I'm available. And Gustin chimed back in with, we are actors with families. And then Candace Patton says, we got bills to pay. And Cavanaugh said, we are all available. We are fully in. That is the fucking saddest thing I've ever heard.
It's the saddest and realest thing I've heard in a long time. But what I'm also hearing is like, hey, do y'all want to do this gig where like we just need you for like office hours? And honestly, it's half days a lot of the time. Like, can y'all come down some afternoons? It's like a 30-minute ride. Quiet booth, real hot in there. Sorry about that. And then after that, you're going to be good. And here's a lot of money. Like, yeah, fuck yeah. They're going to sign up for that all day.
Absolutely. All right. We've got one more news story. And then we're going to call it on this episode. Mm-hmm. And in a recent interview with TV Line, after the season 5 finale of Harley Quinn, which I haven't watched yet. God, I'm still behind. Harley Quinn showrunner Dean Lorey was asked about whether or not that final episode was purposely made cozy and definitive in view of the show potentially not making a return. And he says, not really. I mean, in my mind, it's not a series finale. I don't think any of us making it want it to be a series finale. But it is the end of season 5. So if that were to be it, I think it is a nice series finale. We certainly have plans to do more seasons. So it might be done.
It is weird to hear him talk so hesitantly. But then again, I say weird as though I know the landscape. I don't know what Max uses to decide if they're going to keep doing something right now.
I don't know. If I guessed, I would say chicken bones and tea leaves.
I don't know what he's weighing the expectation against to tell him if it sounds sane or not. Everything in the world that I've heard for the last few weeks has been about Severance and White Lotus, but like,
right.
I mean, like, I'm I don't know if they go by word of mouth or I'm sure they're not going by ratings. That's not a real thing anyone uses anymore for these kinds of decisions. Like,
right. I mean, they do have like the streaming Nielsen charts, but
they do. But my understanding is like those are guesses at the internal figures, but they have the internal figures.
I mean, they've created a situation where things aren't cut and dry anymore.
It has gotten strange, and
they never were. But
well, that's the part, they never were, and we all thought it was going to normalize into some kind of context that made some sense. Like the networks used to be profitable, and now networks aren't making the bulk of material anymore. It's streaming things, but streaming things aren't profitable. That's a very particular word I'm using. They don't make any money, and we don't know what they're doing yet, and they're just doing things. So like, I don't know what happens with any of that. But in the course of all that, some of the old dynamics stopped mattering. Like I don't genuinely think whether it's trending might make more of a difference about whether it gets renewed than whether it actually got watched properly. Well, is it being memed properly?
Here's the thing. Here's what's going to happen, and it's not what anybody wants. It's not what the general audience doesn't care. The internet's going to be mad about it for a minute, but here's what's going to happen. AI is going to get so good that the prompters are going to be the people in charge of making stuff, and whether they have actors or not, I mean, I'm not sure exactly what the landscape's going to look like, but a lot of the production value is going to come down to AI in the next several years. It's going to make it so cheap that it actually becomes profitable.
If streaming tries to do that, it can, but they will be playing they're going to be playing it fast and loose on whether the audience gives a shit. They might.
I don't think the general audience overall cares, and it's going to be so. It is getting.
Well, I say that
to the point where
I say that, but in both of those sentences, I don't know what they're using to decide whether they care anymore.
I don't think the audience cares if it's AI or not, but they will eventually come up with a system where they're like, okay, across the board, this means it was profitable. But they're just going to have to like get to a point where they're like, it costs so little to make a thing that they are profitable.
You can do that easily. You just sacrifice quality on your way.
But what I'm saying though is that AI is going to get to a point where you're not going to be sacrificing quality. You won't know what the hell you're doing. You won't even know that you're looking at it. In a lot of ways, we're already there.
Oh no, that is a point where I'm going to be curious about. I mean, for me, a lot of consuming art involves consuming what the artist wanted to represent in that art in whatever capacity. But if you're just consuming it with no, none of your philosophy of aesthetics has any regard for the artist whatsoever, you're just consuming the end content, then you may not give a shit where it comes from. But I think there will be people that wholly are in the camp of like, well, what percent are we talking about? Like, was this an AI creation entirely? Because that I'm not interested in. But like, was it prompted? Like, were they just used as a tool in the situation, or more of a collaboration?
I think there will be some that are wholly AI with just prompts. But I think there will also be, you look at like Tubi, all these like movies that Tubi buys up and plays for free. Like, maybe watch those, and God, I'd watch an AI film before I'd watch some of that shit. That's awful.
Some are just
and these are just people. These are just people hanging out in a mansion for rent or something, making a stupid story. It's awful. It's like, y'all don't have any furniture in this place, and it's just, oh my God, this is terrible. The writing, it would have been better if it had been AI. Like, what are y'all doing? This is like some Tommy Wiseau room shit. Like,
the content farmhouse kind of looks.
Oh yeah, like any of that Tyler Perry shit. Like, dude, Tyler Perry makes some garbage, and they even made fun of it on Atlanta. Like Donald Glover did a whole thing where, like, his girlfriend or former girlfriend, whatever, took their kid to one of these like Tyler Perry type content farms, and it's just like nothing but like a town of studios, and them like green lighting, shooting, and canceling shows over the course of an afternoon, and like recasting the little girl and putting her in a different thing, and then like a voice over the microphone that's clearly Tyler Perry is like, "That's enough. Move over to stage A. I do not like this." Just like it was brilliant, as everything in Atlanta was. But I think that's the future. But hopefully we do get at least another season of Harley Quinn. Going back to what we were talking about
before that kicks in. There's plenty they could play with. I would say there's plenty of story, but I wouldn't even know where to predict they would go with it. They've tried to burn down the universe a couple times and come back. I'm sure they'll figure something out though, and I know those characters have plenty of room left.
Yeah, I'm good with just a quiet story.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, I'm good with anything they do though. Yeah.
I'm bottle store.
Oh man, what they should do is Harley Quinn, like a Harley Quinn Dark Knight Returns type of thing. Like jump forward in the future. Let's see what Harley and Ivy are doing. In their golden years. Well, sure, but let's see what does Gotham look like? What does Metropolis look like? What does the world look like? What's going on with the superheroes? We get little snippets of what's going on with them from time to time. Anyway, I don't know. I guess that also depends on if they're going to do another Kite Man season too.
Good. I mean, Kite Man, the way it ended, could just fold back. It'd be fine. Harley, though, since you haven't seen 5, I mean, I haven't seen all of it. I've seen
some of it. I haven't seen all of it. I've seen some of it.
Finished it. Yeah. All right, well, vouching for the finishing. It is very tight. It could very well sit there and it would be fine. At least, even if they didn't mean to, they buttoned this up well enough that, like, I could put that away as 5 seasons and be okay with it. And even watch it again later, knowing that, like, I'll have some kind of wrap up at the end that I can be okay with.
Yeah. Okay. That's good to know. We were on a good track of getting back into it. And then they started advertising Little House on the Prairie on the Roku channel or something. And, or Pluto or one of those. And, we started watching that off and on. Man, what a depressing show. Everybody's like, oh man, it's so wholesome and nice. And I'm like, I start watching it. And it was like dead babies dying in fires and shit. And kids going blind. And
I believe it. They, everyone who's ever said it was wholesome and nice can only ever remember the scenes of someone saying goodnight to 1,000 people and another person playfully stumbling down a soft hill.
Well, now, hold on. The soft hill, you're right. But the scenes of them saying goodnight to 1,000 people, that sounds like you're misremembering as Walton's.
I am. You're right. I'm absolutely doing it. But I will not be alone. Because those might as well be the same fucking show now.
No. They're very different. They're different-ish. Look. Me and Bethany were laughing about how Matt Carroll of MCU Cast and Star Trek Universe, the other show, always says stuff like, oh yeah, you like, he's always talking about me, talking about like, oh, you like all those country shows, you like Andy Griffith and Little House on the Prairie. I'm like, no, motherfucker, they're different. And Bethany was like, Little House on the Prairie was not a country show. It was Pioneer, okay? It's a different genre.
I mean, yeah.
It is very, it's different. Like, but like also I wouldn't put like Andy Griffith in the same category as Hee Haw.
Yeah, that is a very different thing. I mean,
Andy Griffith is good and funny.
Whereas like I wouldn't even put Hee Haw and Green Acres in the same category for some reasons. But
yeah, but also wouldn't put Andy Griffith in the same category as Green Acres. Like I would put Green Acres closer to Hee Haw.
And they tried.
Perhaps not in the same category. But I feel like Green Acres and Petticoat Junction, that kind of shit.
There's an area of that. Yeah.
It's closer to Hee Haw.
Kind of a Beverly Hillbillies area too.
Yeah. I feel like Andy Griffith is like rural. And then like Green Acres and Petticoat Junction is like country. And then Hee Haw is a travesty.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. Is Mayberry rural or suburban, really? Are they adjacent to anything big in the Mayberry universe?
Well, there is. I mean, they're in North Carolina, and they talk about Raleigh as if it's a big town. Like that's the big city.
It's probably one of the big 2 or 3. I assume.
And but they also have in town they have a little suburban area, but then 10 minutes out you're gonna deal with like there's the quote the filling station, the gas station, and then a little bit further out you got like the woods, you get the lake, you got like little farms, people running stills and shit. And then a little bit further out, you got the hills where like Mr. Darlin and all those, and Ernest T. Bass and all those people live.
Yeah.
So it is
I think
rural.
It's probably rural though. I mean, because the difference here would be, I mean, I'm currently in my home, and I am currently, depending on where they are in the pasture, somewhere between 50 and 200 yards from a cow.
Yeah, like a standard conversation in the show is about chicken thieves and shit, like and busting up a still.
Yeah. But like I'm that
outskirts
far
of town
from a cow right now. But if I got in my car in 30 minutes, I could be standing at the bottom of 12 stories of concrete. So difference.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason that I referred to Trustful as modern day Mayberry when I moved out here with you. I went, oh God, this is Mayberry. I want to live here.
Very much has some aspects to it.
Yeah. Like, I like being able to go to the store and then drive 5 minutes and all of a sudden I'm in the woods. I like that. I don't take advantage of it enough, but at the same time, like,
well, it is kind of funny. It's nice to be able to go to the woods. You don't like being adjacent to them in the way that they can come visit you.
right.
We
right.
did have a bear show up like, I don't know, 100 yards away. I mean, a cul-de-sac over.
Yeah.
I have no interest in meeting that bear. Like,
dude, I was at your house when all of a sudden the cows started running through your front yard and down the hill.
That was fun.
That was fun. I was glad I wasn't outside.
Yeah, that would be a little bit.
But if you'll recall, when we lived together, like there was literally a night where we had like neighbors walking around going like, "Oh yeah, we got a coyote running about."
Yeah, I had a couple.
Like they're taking dogs. There's also a hawk, a giant ass bird coming down and taking small dogs.
I mean, we're in such a like, we're just adjacent to so many big sets of woods.
Yeah.
I mean, I could legitimately grab, a compass and a knife, walk into the woods next to my house, and if I wanted to, probably go 100 miles in one direction before I found another thing, if I really wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
They attach to so many other pieces of woods through so many cities.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I do enjoy Little House on the Prairie, even though it's sad as shit, and everybody's just dying. Oh my god, just
morbidly, and
just everybody's dead and dying, and it's sad,
It's almost as though those were harsh times.
Yeah, but back in those days, you don't expect them to actually do it. You don't.
I don't know.
You don't expect in that era of television, you don't expect to like just turn on the TV and be like, okay, well, this is family programming, and tonight we're gonna watch a baby burn to death in a barn. You don't expect it.
I've also wondered though, like, because the infancy of television, and they were keeping some stuff close to the vest, but at the same time, there were different death rates for different reasons around that time, and you might be, a generation removed from like, oh yeah, my dad was one of 8 children, he was the only one that survived. Mm-hmm. Or even in your generation at that stage, you might have grown up and like, yeah, they named me John after my older brother who was 7 and died of the rickets or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
And like, he was named John too,
Yeah.
Sometimes they forget.
I'm just saying it was a game changer in the way that you don't remember it being. Like you look back at MASH and go like, oh, well, that was a fun little jaunt, a bunch of drunk doctors like running around after nurses and shit. And then you watch the show and you're like, oh shit, this changed the landscape of television. Mm-hmm. It was not what I thought it was. It was, but it was so much more. And yeah, it's just really cool to go back because I watched Little House on the Prairie when I was a kid, but I didn't remember all that shit. I was just like, oh yeah, a little kid running around like you said, tumbling down the hill.
I hate it. I hate every second of it. Pilgrim stuff, like those settings make me physically uneasy. I hate it. It's funny because me and Bethany have been watching it, and I pointed out to her, I was like, you realize, of course, that you love this shit. Like, you watch Little House on the Prairie, Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, that shit. Like, you realize, like, this is just American Victorian England, which she hates. She will not watch a Victorian England thing. Like, one of the biggest obstacles for us with Doctor Who, and I don't like Victorian England very much, but one of our biggest obstacles with Doctor Who is like, just from a budgetary standpoint, they have to have like 3 episodes a season set in Victorian England. Yeah. So much so that they just literally backdrops they have at their disposal.
They created characters who just live in Victorian England. It's like a lizard lady and a Santarin, and like they created those characters just to be in Victorian England so that they can use those sets. And it's just a thing that we just freaking hate, dude. But I was like, you realize it's like how ridiculous it is that we're just like, boo, Victorian England. Anyway, pioneer shit.
It's like the pioneer shit is so if you're pioneer shit, you're basically, your grandparents were Victorians. Your parents got out of it, but we're still Victorians, and you're kind of the asshole that's like, I get some of that, but I'm gonna like, you're just not that far removed from it.
Right.
That's still in your dressing patterns.
Then again, I watch a little bit of Jane Austen. I don't hate Victorian shit so much.
I do not know why. How certain settings, and I do mean exactly that, settings. Some types of them are very attractive, some not, and like the ones that are not for me sometimes are incredibly not. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is about Pioneer, like that whole outhouse and one barn thing. I just I don't know, man. Every bit
I'll
of
tell
the
you
aesthetics
this, whatever
of
it
that
is,
just a giant turnoff for me.
Watching it is nice to not see a show trying to figure out how to adequately display that the character is reading a text message.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I'm so tired of that in current shows. It's like everyone's got like their own cute little gimmicky way of showing that someone's reading a text. And I'm like, can we just like do shows where cell phones aren't a fucking thing?
No.
Look, I'm so tired of this.
No, you can't. Nor, unfortunately, can you have it be what it is in real life, which is someone just sort of like tips their phone that way and glances that way, and you don't make a camera cue out of it. But unfortunately, it has to be a beat somewhere where you say, so-and-so noticed his phone. Mm-hmm. Which means now someone has to film it. Which means, of course, they're going to show off and film the fuck out of it.
Yeah. My favorite thing would just be like the same thing they did on the old Star Trek with tricorders. Like, oh, well, it says here this. Okay. And you just move on with your episode. Like, you just show someone looking at the phone, they say the information they need, and you can assume someone texted it to them from the ship. Or from, fucking Reacher's friend, like, oh, right. The girl that's getting a spinoff, she said this. Like, yeah, okay, we figured. We figured it came from girl with bad accent or spinoff lady. I don't know anybody's names.
But no, you're right. We have to stop and do the sounds, the whole thing.
No.
I got to watch the little overlay at the bottom of the screen.
I feel like it's like a combination of just like awkwardness, like thinking that like we have to address it, but then also like there's something there where it's like, but it's so new. I really want to do something with it. Like, I think I figured it out. Everyone thinks they've cracked it. Like, oh, I know how we're going to put this on the screen and make it look right.
I don't know. I thought it looked just fine, and like the earliest versions of it I saw were maybe Sherlock or something, and I thought it looked just fine there, and we didn't need much tweaking.
Yeah.
Although there's, I've heard tell of a new documentary. I want to say it's called Social Studies. Where basically it followed a bunch of teens and it gives you the overlay of what's actually happening on their phone while you see in real life the documentary footage of what they're doing. So you see the screen and you see their actions and you can see the disconnect and like what world is inside that little block and then what world's actually outside of it. Mm-hmm. One of the takeaways from the film is that the answer to your question, can we just have that scene, is no, definitively no. And if you want to do yourself any favors, stop wishing for it, except in any retrospect kind of way. Mm-hmm. Because, going forward, I don't think anyone has any plans for eliminating that unless you make it a period piece. Yeah. But we are going to have to get to that point where it's like, well, this is set in the 90s. Oh, and then that's going to be shitty. It's like, oh, we're going to do a thing set in the 90s, and then somebody's going to refer to, like, I just got this SMS from my friend.
Oh, God.
Mm-hmm. Did you now?
Yeah. Why are you making me not have hope for the future?
Because there's going to be because right now there's some dude that's probably perfectly talented and will otherwise make a good film, but is at some point going to have a shitty take on what we thought of as the version of the 90s, and is going to want to point out that they knew that was called an SMS back in the day, and we'll do that by making the bad reference to it.
Right. I've kind of enjoyed here and there. I've seen some auteur directors or formerly auteur directors. I'm looking at you, Tim Burton, do stuff like, sort of I've never really like adhered to a specific time frame for this. So, we're going to have a movie and we're just not going to address cell phones. And who knows if it's real or not in this reality. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of do enjoy that, where it's just like, I don't know. We didn't address it. It's not there.
No, let's give a little bit of credit to a DC product here. Gotham, I think, did that incredibly well, and I think a little bit earlier than a lot of people taking on this new aspect of things. They intentionally, from day one, said we were going to have computers that look like this era, phones here, cars here, clothes here, whatever. Every bit of this will be intentionally anachronistic. You will not know which era we're in, and we're going to make it that way on purpose. Yeah. And I think it was a really clever way of making you not have to feel your way through that, which makes sense because, honestly, decades haven't meant anything in decades anyway. Mm-hmm. We're living in a timeless space. In some ways, we just haven't, like, since the 2000s stopped and names stopped being clever like 90s or niche and cute. They just stopped branding themselves for us. We kind of veered away. It's just been like it just seems like a big product of time now.
Yeah, which, I mean, to be fair to Batman Animated Series, they did the same thing way before Gotham. I think that's where they got it from, is they would have, somewhat futuristic tech, here are robots running around in human skin. by the way, you're watching the news on a black and white tube television in your car. What is going on? But Batman has a panel on his arm that he can flip open and hit a bunch of buttons and control his vehicle and do all sorts of things. And, but yes, by the way, that giant TV you have at home is a giant black and white TV. Like, it's weird. And then by the time they move on from that,
look a certain way. All the cars look like they're late 50s curved designs before like Chevy and mass manufacturing got in there and squared everything up. Like, there's a certain there's a certain timeless feel to it. But that one does have like a noish kind of timelessness anyway.
But then you go over to like Superman the animated series, across the pond or whatever, and it's got that deco look as well, but it's like a futuristic deco look. And they have computers instead of typewriters, but the computers look like not really any computers that we've seen since like 1979. Like, I think Shatner was fucking pimping computers that look like this at some point, but like...
It's a green block. It looks more like the Severance computers than anything we recognize.
Absolutely. And by the time you get to Justice League, they're dealing with tech so far ahead, you're just like, I don't even know what we're looking at. It's like it all looks like Jack Kirby sci-fi shit.
Justice Unlimited, like half of whole seasons take place in the Watchtower. I mean, we're way past, I for some reason, I have always remembered this stupid little Riddler. Maybe it was one Riddler episode. I want to say it was the Minotaur. Anyway, he gets these two coins. He gets these two pieces of pennies, and it's copper. All that crap. We're a long way from like getting pennies out of a phone booth at the point where we're doing seasons in the Watchtower and fighting Darkseid. But realistically, that was less than 10 years worth of viewing time for us.
Mm-hmm. But also they did Batman Beyond, so they like established what a far future technology would look like. And I feel like by Justice League, they were reverse engineering what it would be from Batman Beyond. But it all just looked like Kirby shit, because that's what they did. Like, oh, okay, well now we need like Fantastic Four type, like 60s Fantastic Four, fucking Jack Kirby. Here are a bunch of like incomprehensible circles and lines and some cool patterns, and everything looks New Gods, everything looks Fourth World. You're just gonna be pressing random things, and that's the future.
Yeah.
And I'm here for it. I love that shit, but anachronistic as hell.
It's been funny to watch stuff like Star Wars, for instance, persist after all this time without having changed anything.
Oh, I love it. I love that.
Their
shit
technology
so
is
much.
still
I wish Star Trek had done it,
and a lever, and for some reason you can do hyper time with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, they kept all the same computers, the sets, everything looks like it came from Empire. Everything.
I mean,
I wish Star Trek had done that so hard.
Star Trek went full remodel.
Rewrite the timeline. Fuck it. This is supposed to be our future. No, it's not.
No, but like Star Wars always did have. They never did have to move. They said from the very first scroll, far away, far different time, all that crap. So like it never had to bend.
Long time ago,
any of our bullshit.
Right.
Never had to deal with any roles. But like we were just at the like Disney cruise, and there's a little. Like there's a Star Wars something like the Rose. And of course you're in there and like you're just sitting there like, yeah, man, this is really just like 6 buttons and a tiny screen that doesn't tell me shit. Like this is worse than shit I could have gotten at Radio Shack when Radio Shack was at its height. Like I could have bought like spy gear out of the back of a Highlights magazine that might be cooler than this. But all right.
Yeah. So I guess we should probably end the show, right? Okay. Thank you so much for listening. And we do have a Patreon, patreon.com/DC on screen. And come check it out. We put up exclusive stuff from time to time. And you come join the community at the very least. And we love you guys. And do you want to actually try to like do Batman Forever in a few days?
I think so. We probably should try it.
Okay. Yeah. I think
we are about to go through a little drought here.
Hope so.
That's what I'm saying. I anticipate there's going to be like a little cycle. My guess is like a little drought trailer, no drought, push us right. I mean, we're 3 months away. We're not going to have too many little down periods with 3 months, less than 3 months of time before that thing hits on a light Thursday.
We got 3 months of time. We got set pics leaking from Supergirl, so I'm assuming that Gunn's going to like be like, shit, and put out an official look soon, which is fine by me. But let's actually try to get that Batman Forever done, because you know what? I watched it and Kilmer was a good Batman.
I believe it. I don't know when I saw that last.
Movie's got some issues. Those issues were not Kilmer.
The only thing I remember about it is, I'm hesitant to even say this because we might talk instead of ending the episode. I vaguely remember it being the last time they were trying to actually do a real movie instead of a cartoon. But
They were trying to make a real movie, and then the studio said, "Don't make that movie." That's why people are still hollering, "Release the Schumacher cut."
Yeah, you're right. We'll get into that another time.
We will. But until next time, keep some DC on your screen.